Hi everyone, Mark here with a video on the GRE Home Test. So this is a little different than the other videos I've been putting out, but I've been working with a lot of people who are studying for the test right now, and a big concern that's coming out is whether or not they should sign up for the GRE Home Test. So I'm making this video in mid-May, so right now it's May 12th, and this is a bit of a weird time for a lot of people who are looking to apply this fall. There's a lot of news coming out and changes happening with application and testing, and I thought I'd go over some of the concerns that I've seen people have and hopefully help some people make a more informed decision on whether or not they should be signing up for this test. If you are planning on taking the GRE home test, I just want to make sure that you've asked yourself a couple key questions. And first off, make sure that your school or your program, right, is going to be running this fall. And right now it does seem like those things are kind of up in the air. This here is just an article from Business Insider, and I've read other articles on similar things, as well as students coming to me with their own concerns about their application process. And really, it seems like no one's sure about what's going to be happening this fall. A lot of the big schools out there either haven't released plans or have been sort of pushing it off, saying, we plan on doing everything we can to open the fall, but everyone seems to be holding off uh, about making some sort of official statement until the summer, until mid-June or July or something like that. So that should definitely weigh into what you're thinking in terms of your own plans. Not knowing for sure whether or not your school is going to be open in the fall can definitely impact your timeline as far as testing and getting everything ready for application. Another thing that's been cropping up for some of my students is that schools are actually changing their admissions requirements this year, whether that means pushing back their deadlines or actually waiving test scores altogether. This is just an article from CNBC talking about how a lot of colleges are pushing back their decision deadlines. And I think this has mostly to do with undergrad, but even graduate programs are being affected. And again, there's really not much to say here other than there's a lot of uncertainty, and there's probably going to be, financial problems for schools. There's going to be hiccups in the admission process, and there's just not a lot of clarity about what is the best move for students at this point. Another development in all this is that some graduate programs have started waiving the GRE as well as the GMAT and other graduate tests. And this is kind of expected. There's already a lot of programs out there that don't require the test or it's test optional, and I can see how coronavirus is probably the thing that pushed them past the threshold, or it's possible this is just like a PR move in terms of, not looking like the bad guy pushing students to go to like test centers during lockdown, or it might just be that, application numbers are low and they're looking to entice other people. And you don't have to trust Reuters here. They have a list here of, some of the schools that are making this change. And if we actually go and look at, say, University of Texas San Antonio, they have actually suspended consideration of the following materials for admission: GRE and GMAT test scores, official TOEFL scores, official transcripts. It's not as though anybody can just get into these programs right now, right? The application process is still relatively the same, but for some people, this could be a huge change in terms of whether this is the time to apply or not. A third thing to consider is just whether or not you would be better off waiting for the test centers to open up. And again, I don't know when that's going to be, but for some people, uh, if your application deadline has been pushed back, if you're not sure you're going this year and you might just be waiting until the spring or waiting till next fall to actually go to school, this could be a good opportunity to just wait, study, prepare more, and take the test at an official testing center, which for some people they prefer that over taking the test in a home office. Keep in mind, right, the GRE scores are good for 5 years. So even if you're not going to school this year, if you've been preparing and you were planning on taking the test, it's still probably in your best interest to take the test sometime in the next couple months, but you might not necessarily be under the gun to take it as soon as you were before. So if you have decided you're going to take the home test, the rest of this video is dedicated to some of the information you need to know for that, as well as some of the concerns that I've received from students who have taken the home test. So first off, can you take the test? Probably. I'm assuming most people watching this are in the States. It says that it's offered everywhere except for mainland China and Iran. The two big uh, criteria though that you need to meet in order to take this test is that you need a computer that meets their requirements and a room that meets their requirements, and we'll talk about those briefly right now. So for sure, if you're going to take this test, go through some of this information yourself. There's more here than I plan on going through. But generally, if you want to know whether or not you can take this test, you need a computer, right? It needs to be a desktop or a laptop. You can't just use, right, a tablet or something like that. It needs to run on Windows, so you can use it on a Mac, but you do need Windows. You also need Chrome or Firefox. And what's going to happen is you're going to have to download a separate test browser, and there's a different company called ProctorU that's going to be sort of interfacing with you throughout the test. Also, as far as the peripherals that you need a speaker, it can't be a headset. You need a microphone, it can't be a headset. And you need a camera, one that you can actually use to, focus on your face during the test, as well as move around to demonstrate to the proctor that you're in the correct room and that you don't have any, um, uh, you know, forbidden items with you. In terms of the space that you need to be able to take the test, it's kind of what you'd expect if you've taken any sort of online proctored test before. It's got to be private. It can't be public. You can't have people coming in. You only have like the bare minimum in this room, right? So you have a tabletop with your computer and what they allow you in terms of scratch paper, which we'll talk about in a second, right? Just a standard chair, no food and drink. Your clothing and appearance, it's basically the same as if you had gone to the test center, right? You can't wear anything that looks like you could be concealing something. Um, and actually, the big one here is the note-taking material, and this is actually what I think can really affect you. You don't get access to regular paper, and I think that's primarily because the GRE or ETS rather, are sticklers for people not writing down their questions and taking them with them outside the test, which means you either need a whiteboard with an erasable marker or a paper with a transparent sheet protector and erasable marker. So in either case, you're taking just these temporary notes that you can demonstrate to the proctor that you've erased before the end of the test. Lastly, I just want to talk about some of the concerns that have been raised with me about the home test from students that I've had who have taken it or are thinking about taking it. First off, the proctoring service is not ETS. It's been outsourced to a company called ProctorU, which you can go and you can look up some of the reviews. They have good ones, they have bad ones, and other universities have used these for other testing services. From what I can tell, the level of professionalism with ProctorU is not the same that you're going to find at an official testing center. And what this means is that the proctors themselves are not as knowledgeable about the test, about the process, and they won't be as helpful uh, uh, if something does come up during the test. A second related issue is just privacy. And I'm not looking to call out ETS or ProctorU or anything like that. This is just a natural consequence of taking a test in your home like this. But what's going to happen, right, is that a proctor is going to be watching you in your house. You're going to have to show them your ID and prove that you are who you are. And for some people, this makes them uncomfortable or it's something they'd rather avoid. So this is actually also something to just consider whether it's worth taking the home test versus waiting for the test centers to reopen. This next issue is the one that I've found has been affecting almost everybody looking to sign up for the test, and it's that there aren't any good time slots left. So what it seems like is that there's a limited number of time slots because, each test is being individually proctored. And so the result is that all the time slots that are good for American test takers, so think 8 a.m., noon, afternoon, right, the times you would expect to be taking this test, they've all been snapped up already. Which means if you go to sign up for it now, you're looking at taking like a 6 or 7 p.m. test, which means going late into the night, or you'd have to wake up extremely early and take something like a 4 a.m. test. And neither of those are probably going to result in you doing as well as you can, right? Neither of those are an ideal testing time. And I think this is just the result of these test slots being opened up internationally to everybody. And so, of course, the demand for the good time slots is huge, and it seems like they're all gone. This last issue has just been a problem for some people who have taken the test, and I was sort of curious, so I looked it up, and apparently this is sort of a known issue with ProctorU and probably just other proctoring services. Just a natural consequence of taking a test online is that if anything happens with the connection, it's going to cause problems. And so, from the people I've talked to who have taken it, even though their test start time might be, say, 6 o'clock, it takes a while to get through the whole process. It takes a while to get the connection all sorted out and your ID verification and things like that. And the test might not start for an extra 15, 20, 30 minutes, which can definitely throw you for a loop, right? So you're anticipating jumping right into this test, but instead you're dealing with a half hour of technical issues. So that again is just something else to be prepared for and should weigh in your consideration of whether or not this home test is what you're looking to do. Well, that's all I have for the home test. I know that this is just like a chaotic time for a lot of people, and I can't really give a definitive answer. It seems like for everybody, you just have to weigh the pros and cons and see what's right for you. But that being said, don't just jump into the home test thinking that it's going to be what's best for you. Read over all the information they have on the test. Make sure that you have everything you would need to even be able to take it, and read over, especially like the FAQs here. There's a lot of contingencies and things you want to consider before going ahead and taking this test. All right, well, thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful for some of you. And good luck out there on your test, whether it's now or months down the road.